guys, you can go ahead. You going? Okay, good. Slab pots, few requirements. It cannot be a circle, square, triangle, or a rectangle. That sounds challenging. I'm giving you a problem and asking you to solve it, okay? The second requirement is that it has to be decorated using line. It says right here in the step-by-step directions under requirements, just because I say use a line does not mean that you should draw a line across your project. There are so many different ways that you guys can use line, and I know that you're more creative than that. Does texture use line? If you're making a texture, you're probably using line. If you're drawing a shape, does that include line? Yeah, shape is a line that encloses a space, which means form also would use line. And space, if you're making a space, positive or negative, where something is or where something isn't, you're probably using line. All of the things that you could be doing, we're going to use line. If you're drawing letters, numbers, and words, those are all lines too. Be creative with it. Let's see. Hint, anything that you can make out of paper, you can make out of clay. If you're a type of person who's going to challenge yourself on this project and really make something that you're not quite sure if it's possible, I'm happy to supply you with paper and scissors and tape. What you would do is you'd make that project out of paper, because paper is very similar to slabs of clay, and if you can make it out of paper, you can make it out of clay. Okay? Steps. What's the first thing you do when you get your clay?
Wedge it.
Good, wedge it. We're going to pretend like I wedged this piece of clay, because I'm not going to. If you're that type of person, we talked a little bit about this with our texture tiles, but if you want your project to be perfectly even and flat, you could find two things that are the same width, lay them on either side of your project, and use a rolling pin with a board underneath it. I don't have a board because they're all being used right now, which is fine. Use a rolling pin. When your rolling pin hits these boards, it's not going to be able to push your clay down anymore, and you know you're going to have a nice even flat slab, which I now have. Everyone's project is going to have a base. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut out your base. Now I'm going to show you a few examples of some slab pots. Can you see that one? Okay, this is a slab pot. It's tiny. Did I give you a size requirement? No, you can make them as small as you want. Okay? This is not a circle, square, triangle, or rectangle. In fact, it is a guitar. Pretty cool looking. Made out of slabs. This is not a circle, square, triangle, or rectangle. It is a pentagon. Made out of slabs. This is kind of an abstract design. A bunch of little slabs that were cut out and then slipped and scored together to create a pot. Still a slab pot?
Yes.
Yes. This is probably the easiest form or way that you can make a slab pot that's not a circle, square, triangle, or rectangle. Okay? You start out with a base. Each one of these pots has a base. So that's the first thing we're going to make. And I'm just going to cut some sort of weird design here. Okay. It looks like a P.
It looks, no, it's a state.
Backwards?
No, Maryland. No.
Maryland, whatever.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
this is my slab that I'm going to make. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to roll out your
State.
you're going to roll out your slabs for your walls. For most of you, the slabs for your walls are going to be rectangles, almost in every case, unless you do something like this, which those are a bunch of different little geometric shapes. I'll show you what I mean here. This, if you take away this part, so pretend this part's not here, that little handle, this is a pot that's made out of slab. It has a base and it has a wall. This is only two separate slabs of clay. One is the base and one is the wall. This is a long rectangle. That person just kind of smushed until it made this shape of the base, and then they slipped and scored it together and slipped and scored it on. So this is two pieces of clay. This is a little more labor intensive. It just helps with design. Base. They cut out the shape that they want. All the rest of these are literally just rectangles of clay. Here, 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 and here. Then they formed it to fit that contour of this edge. Same thing all the way around. This is a rectangle. This is a rectangle. This is a rectangle. Right here has a base. Base is a pentagon. Each side is a rectangle. How could you get creative with this? Well, just because you're cutting out slabs and making a slab pot doesn't mean that all of your sides have to be the same height, do they? You can make them different heights, and that could be how you get a little more creative. All right, so I'm going to roll out a slab here for my wall. We're going to talk about how to attach them. What do you have to do when you attach two pieces of clay? Slip and score. Again, no size requirement. You guys can make these as big or small as you want. So long as it's a slab pot, so long as it's decorated using line. Okay, I have my pot, my base now, and I have a wall. In order to attach these, I'd have to slip and score, correct?
Right.
Slipping and scoring serves two purposes. Not only does it help attach our clay to one another, but also when you make cuts in your clay, they're never going to be perfect and even. So you're going to have little spaces of air in there, and you're going to want to fill those spaces of air with liquid clay in order to prevent it from exploding. You can attach your walls in two different ways. You can put them on top of your base, or you can put them next to your base. What I suggest is that you put it on top, okay? Even though you're going to lose some of that inside area and the space where you would actually put something, I find that it stays attached better when you put it on top. If you want to put it on the outside, that's fine. You just have to be a little more careful with it. So you're going to slip and score it on there. The next part is that you're going to want to make sure that that has a nice, strong connection. And I'm kind of breezing through these up here. Nice, strong connection. Now, the larger your pot is, the more careful you have to treat your slabs for your walls. If your pot's going to be larger, that clay is not going to be able to hold the weight of itself up right away. You're going to have to let it get leather hard. The way you do that is you're going to take your slabs, cut out all the pieces you need for your walls, put them on a piece of board, cover them with damp paper towels, and then you're going to cover them with a plastic bag. We don't want them to stay wet. We want air to get to them, so you're going to leave that plastic bag a little bit open so that air can get to it, but you don't want it to dry out completely, which is why you have to put the damp paper towel on it, okay? Yes? Good. Okay, after you slip and score this on there, you want to make sure they stay nice and connected. The way that you're going to do that is you're going to take a little coil of clay. Okay, take a coil. Nice small one. And you're going to actually put it here in that little crease or that joint that you just created. So here's my pot, here's my base, here's my wall. Take a little coil of clay and put it here in between where those two pieces are attached at that connection. What you're going to do is you're going to take your finger and you're going to smooth that clay into both parts, into the base and into the wall. I'm going to put it down to do that, and then I'll kind of show you. So I'm pushing my clay down into the base, and then I'm pushing it up into the wall. And when you do this, you don't really have to slip and score. It doesn't hurt, but you are pushing on that clay enough that you're going to get rid of any air bubbles you might have. One thing it does is it makes it look neater. So it looks like this is all one pot that was totally meant to be put together and not thrown together. And the second thing is it makes that connection nice and strong. Now you guys are going to slip and score yours, but for the sake of an example, I didn't, because I can now hold this up on its side, and you know that normally if you just stuck two pieces of clay together that they're going to fall apart, right? By creating that little coil in there, I made that connection a lot stronger. I would also do the same on the back side. Okay, you don't necessarily have to use a coil, but I would smooth one into the other to make sure that you don't see that crease, so it looks neater, and also that that connection is a lot better and stronger. Okay. You may have a lid if you want to. It's not required, but you can. If you decide you want to have a lid on your pot, a couple things you need. I strongly suggest that you make somewhere that you can lift your pot up. Mr. Lightferman here put a hole in the top of his pot so he could just stick his finger in there and lift his lid off. He didn't, however, do the second part, which would be to make a little lip. When we glaze our pots, this surface gets really slick. Okay, so glazed surface to glazed surface is really slippery. What you want to do to make sure that when you pick your pot up, it doesn't slide off your pot is you're going to create a little ledge here. That ledge can be made out of coils, it can be made out of slabs, it can be made out of little balls of clay, whatever you want. It doesn't have to go all the way around. So long as whatever you put on here is going to prevent it from sliding off your pot, it will work for me. You could put a little ball at each little corner, a little slab of clay or a little coil just here in the center part of each wall. It doesn't matter. So long as it's going to prevent your pot from slipping off, or your lid from slipping off of your pot. Okay? Where do you put this? Well, you're going to flip your lid to the underneath side. Make sure you're putting it on the right side, especially if you have a weird design. Yes, your lid is going to be the same shape as your base, but if you flip it over one way, it might be backwards. So just pay attention to which side you're putting this on. You're going to want that lip to be about 1/4 of an inch in from the side of that lid because you want this lip to sit inside of your pot, not on the top. It sits inside so that when you pick it up, it's preventing the lid from sliding off of your pot. Does that make sense? You do not have to have a lid. You can if you want to. If you want to have a way to lift it off your pot, either a handle or a hole to stick your finger in, and then a lip on the underneath side so it doesn't slide off. Okay? Again, wedge your clay, roll out your base, then you're going to roll out your sides. It cannot be a circle, square, triangle, or a rectangle. It can be many other things though. You're going to want to make sure that you allow your pieces to get leather hard if your project is on a larger scale. Okay? Again, wrap it in damp paper towels, loosely in a plastic bag to let some air get to it. After you have your walls, you're going to put them together by slipping and scoring, and then you should make sure you reinforce those joints with coils of clay. If you want to have a lid, you can. Lastly, you're going to smooth out your pot, make it nice, neat, and pretty, as beautiful as you can possibly get it. Then you're going to put your initials on the bottom. When you're decorating these, make sure you're using line. Don't just draw a line on your pot. I know you're all capable of that. I expect more of you. Question.
You said it can't be a circle. You can have a hole cut out in the middle and be a circle.
So like a donut?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Is this a circle?
Yes.
No.
It's 3.
No, it's 3 circles. I would accept something like this. So long as it's not just a circle, just a square, just a triangle, just a rectangle, I'm fine with it. So one way to do that a little differently, to make a triangle acceptable, could you make a pyramid?
Yes.
That's a lot harder than just building up walls in a triangular shape. Make it a pyramid, make it an enclosed space. We can cut a lid off. I'd be happy to help you with that. Questions, comments, concerns? You're good, you can cut that.